iPhone 13 mini is the best mini iPhone you'll ever buy. Here's why. I've used iPhone 13 mini ever since its release, and I can tell you that it's definitely a big upgrade over its predecessor. Apple has basically upgraded all of the most important aspects of a smartphone: the camera, the screen, and the battery life. Visually, there's only two ways you can tell it apart from the old one: the now vertical cameras and the new smaller notch. Let's start with the latter. The notch is roughly 20% smaller, and especially on the mini that makes a big difference because the notch used to take up a lot of the horizontal space as the device is so small. Unfortunately, there isn't any new information next to the smaller notch, like the battery percentage, for example. And the new notch is deeper, so it does cut in with 18:9 content, which is a bit unfortunate. Not very elegant, and if you have OCD, this will definitely trigger you. Hopefully this can somehow be fixed with an update. The screen itself still has the same resolution. Unfortunately, it's still 60 Hz. 120 Hz is reserved for the Pro models, but unless you hold them side by side, I doubt most people will notice the difference, as iPhones are already quite smooth. The screen is brighter now, which is a welcome addition though. The notch still houses Face ID, which still works pretty well, but it hasn't really been upgraded over the last few years. As we're still wearing face masks, a fingerprint scanner would have been a lot more convenient. The next improvement is the camera. It's now the same setup as on the 12 Pro Max, except for that telephoto, with that sensor shift stabilization on the main sensor. And that's actually the reason why it's now a diagonal setup, because the new sensor does take up a lot more space than before. The pictures it produces are very nice. Here it is next to the 12, and you can see a difference, especially in low light situations. Now the Pro is definitely still better, as it should be, and the lack of a telephoto is quite limiting. You can zoom in, but at some point the quality just quickly deteriorates, roughly at 4 or 5x. A dedicated telephoto would have definitely been nice to have. Generally, photo quality is excellent though, especially in good lighting. It's sharp with plenty of detail and great dynamic range. New are photographic styles, which means you can customize the look of your photos to your liking. The ultra-wide has also been improved, and it's pretty consistent with the main sensor now, although a bit inferior. Selfies are very good as well, and video is best in class, only really topped by the Pro models. New is also the cinematic mode, which is basically portrait video. It's limited to 1080p, and to be honest, it's still a first generation product. It's not quite ready yet, but when it does nail it, it looks pretty awesome. And I'm sure with time, it'll be an incredible tool to have on your smartphone. The last major improvement is battery life, mainly thanks to a roughly 10% larger battery capacity. In fact, the device is slightly thicker and heavier than the 12. Apple claims it lasts around 1.5 hours longer than its predecessor, and I'd say that's pretty accurate. I usually got around 4.5 to 5.5 hours of screen on time, lasting me through most days. Granted, if you do use it a lot, you will have to end up charging it once during the day. And I did find myself topping it off in the evening on days where it went out because I did not trust it to last me through the whole night. Unfortunately, charging is still quite slow. With the supported 18 watts, it takes almost 1.5 hours to fully charge. It could be worse, but I really wouldn't call that fast charging. And it sadly still charges via Lightning. And obviously, you will have to purchase the charging brick separately, for the environment. MagSafe has also been bumped up slightly, now supporting the full 15 watts, and it has slightly stronger magnets, but I'm still not fully convinced on MagSafe. It's pretty expensive and doesn't really add much value. It still has a cable attached to the phone when you're charging. Oh, and when you are charging, the device gets pretty warm. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Now the rest is quite simple. The build is still incredibly solid, like it's made out of a single block of aluminum. Nothing gives. It feels super premium in the hand and doesn't feel like it would break easily. There's also an IP68 rating, which allows you to submerge it 6 meters deep for 30 minutes. It's probably not as durable as it seems though, so I'd still recommend using a case or at least a screen protector. Mine already has a few scratches on the screen, despite me using a case for most of the time. It is a shame though, because check out that red. It looks so good. My favorite color for sure. The matte rails are also much better than the glossy ones on the Pros, but the back is still glossy, which should be matte as well. The whole thing should just be matte. Anyway, it is a very small and fairly light device, which means it's actually usable with one hand. I have pretty small hands, and this is basically the only device I can comfortably navigate using just one hand. Also, it doesn't take up a lot of space, so it can fit most pockets with ease. Now, on the other hand, content consumption isn't as enjoyable as on a bigger screen, and typing does take some getting used to. But these are just things you have to live with when going for a mini. But I personally love the form factor. There's just something about it. And especially since you don't have to make any sacrifices compared to the iPhone 13. Sure, battery life is a little worse. Make sure to check out my full battery test link below. But apart from that, they're virtually the same device. It's literally just a small iPhone 13. That means you get the same incredible performance out of the A15 Bionic, the same iOS 15 with the new focus mode, the new Safari with a search bar at the bottom, and the new awesome camera feature which lets you extract any form of text out of an image, which is very convenient. It has the same beautiful Dolby Vision OLED panel, just smaller, and the speakers sound incredible. Only the Pro Max really sounds better. And even the camera is the same. Oh, and the base storage has now been doubled to 128 gigabytes, finally. So that also means it's not actually that much more expensive than the 12 mini. That's not to say it's perfect though. In the last roughly 2 months, I did have a couple of issues, but not just on the mini. These mainly happened on all the new iPhones. Apps were not optimized yet for the new notch, so content was cut off. I did have a few app crashes, and RAM management on the non-Pro models was horrible. It could not keep any apps open in the background, but all of these things have been basically fixed with an update now. One issue still remains where the touchscreen is somewhat unresponsive sometimes. Not sure why. It's gotten better with an update, but it's not fully gone yet. Hopefully that still will be eradicated with a future update ASAP. The reason why I still think you should buy an iPhone 13 mini, despite it not being perfect, is because there probably won't be a successor. The iPhone 12 mini did not match sales expectations. It sold a lot worse than expected. So Apple will probably not release an iPhone 14 mini or 15 mini for that matter. So if you're looking for a small and compact device that can comfortably fit your pockets and you can use with one hand without having to make any compromises, the iPhone 13 mini is probably the best it's going to get, at least for a while. It's a solid upgrade over the 12 mini and the improved battery life is well needed. So make sure to go for the 13 mini over the 12 mini if you can afford it, and definitely skip the iPhone SE. Do you guys like a mini phone, or will you be going for a larger iPhone 13 or 13 Pro? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to smash the like button and subscribe and hit the notification bell to not miss any of my upcoming videos. Watch these 2 videos next, and I'll see you guys in the next one.